Rhee, welcome to the Human Capital Innovations Podcast.
Um, Thank you, John, for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have a nice conversation with you. Today, we're going to be exploring your company, Optimal, and Optimal Choices rankings of the public universities. It's framed as the best colleges for the 99%. We'll unpack that, but I love that framing, and ultimately accessibility, right? It's about having high quality education that's accessible, that's affordable, and that can make an impact for the future labor force, for people going out and having successful, meaningful, impactful, and fulfilling careers. So that's what we're going to be exploring together today. As we get started, I wanted to share Sung's bio with everybody. Sung Rhee's passion is in education, technology, and real estate. He is the founder of Optimal, formerly SR Education Group, where they publish information on colleges and give out scholarships. He is also the managing director of Optimal. Prior to this, he was also a founder of VR and general manager at Microsoft. He has experienced many successes and failures in life. Through it all, he has learned three valuable lessons. First is that building a real business is really, really hard. Second is that there's nothing more energizing than the belief that you're building something that can change the world. And third is that people matter more than anything else in business. I love those life lessons. I think we'd all do well to adopt those in our own personal lives and how we interact with others. Sung, anything else you would like to share with listeners by way of your background before we dive on into the conversation?
No, I mean, I think that summarizes it all. I love what I do.
Excellent, excellent. And in the pre-interview, when we were just chatting, I had to note, I was actually aware of your organization and your rankings because the university I'm a professor at happens to be top of the list in affordability in terms of low tuition. And that's something we pride ourselves on. We try to keep tuition rates low. We try to be accessible. We have about 45% of our students are first generation college students, and we just want to make sure that people have an opportunity to really tap into a great education that will be impactful in their career. We're not as high as some of the universities in terms of our wages upon leaving the university, and so salary score is lower, but we're in the top third for salaries and for alumni, and coming in at the lowest tuition rate. That's a pretty good value in affordability. So that's something we're very proud of. But this is, your life's mission is around this education space and how to provide opportunity. And you frame this report, the Optimal Choice Rankings, as the best colleges for the 99%. Tell us a little bit more about that, why you frame it that way, and why that's important to you.
Well, today, when you're talking about college rankings, like all the chatter, all the rankings, it's really about the few elite universities, right? And U.S. News comes up. U.S. News is they're the best known for their rankings system, and they've published they publish their rankings year after year, and really, you look at their top rankings, and what do you see? You see the IBs. You see, it's either, well, like, is it going to be Harvard, Yale, or Princeton that's going to be at the top? Like, and geez, it's great for a lot of the folks who are able to attend, and who have the ability as well as the means to be able to attend universities like that. But reality is, for the 99.99% of the population, it's just not a realistic choice, right? Their acceptance rate is super low, and it's really just, and it's a really unpredictable kind of guessing game as to how you can, how one even gets in. And so, I think the rankings game that is played in the college, in the colleges and the media today is mostly about this sort of elite reputation, prestige, and what it does at the end of the day is it makes colleges less accessible. It makes colleges less desirable for a lot of people, because it's like, wow, when you're only talking about the elite universities, and it's like, if you don't feel like you can get in, it's like, what does that mean for me, right? And for for the 99.9% of the population, it's just not a viable option. And so what we wanted to do is, we came out with these rankings and this list of colleges that we think are, that we like to think of this as the anti-US News rankings list. All right, this is for like everybody, right? For most of the population, they have the ability to get into and have access to at least a handful, if not many, of these choices, because this is really about a list of colleges that we've curated that has really great outcome for students using this methodology called salary score, which is our proprietary methodology for measuring the effectiveness of the or the outcomes of the students, the salary that they earn after graduating, as well as their tuition and how affordable it is for the students. And when you combine those two and kind of have this bar of high salary and high affordability, that as well as like many of these schools are public universities and even for-profit institutions and other institutions that have high acceptance rates, it becomes a real viable and workable solution for most students looking to further their education.
Yeah, and I want to get into, as much as you can share in terms of the proprietary approach to the rankings and the methodology. We can talk about that and some of the challenges you faced and how you brought that about. But I love the accessibility piece. Nothing against the other rankings, and there's they have their place, and but like you said, 99.9% of the world doesn't go to those universities. They never will have a chance to go to those universities, but they still want to prepare for the future of work and to have successful, meaningful, fulfilling careers. And they can do that at other universities. So I look at mine, for example. I'm at Utah Valley University, and we are the largest university in the state of Utah, about 42,000 students. Like I said earlier, and Utah's not a super diverse place, but we are disproportionately diverse for the state of Utah, and we have about 45% of first-gen students, and we have tons of non-traditional students. And ultimately, we want to not only provide a well-rounded liberal arts, education for students, to be good citizens and have successful lives, but we also want to help them become career ready. We want them to be able to go out and immediately kind of be like shovel ready, hit the ground running, go into the workforce, make a difference, make an impact, improve their living conditions because now they're making a great salary. Those are the types of things that we're really shooting for. And it's something I feel very strongly about. I could be a professor at many places. I choose to be here in part because of that inclusive nature. And I don't know, it's just something has always bugged me, even though I'm in the world of academia and, I went to a good school for my PhD and all those sorts of things. Like academic snobbery has always really bugged me. And the kind of the gatekeeping that happens, which only perpetuates a lot of the societal divide that we see. It's something that I feel like we should disrupt. And so I like being a part of an institution that is helping that to happen. And I really love that you're shining a light on that and helping students better understand where there are great options for them all over the country, where they can go that's affordable, that's going to help them get a really great education, and that's going to help them go out and have great careers and great lives.
Absolutely. I mean, there are two goals with this, right? Like in terms of like solving the bigger problem. One is to kind of draw attention in terms of students' decision-making process to focus on the outcome and tuition, because one of the biggest economic and systemic problem that we have in this country is this massive 1.7 trillion, 1.8 trillion dollar student loan debt. And for many students who can't make who don't have the salaries and who don't have the income to be able to pay those debt loads, it is crushing, right? It is crushing, and it really just kind of sets back their lives, and for decades, having such a high debt load that they have to pay off, and that's basically taking away from their ability to purchase a house, or enjoy life, or support a family, start a family, all of those things, right? And so the college affordability and the student loan and debt that we've accrued because of the high cost of education, it's a huge societal issue, right? And so we want to kind of, so our goal with this ranking is to kind of, bring focus on those issues, and just really give students an opportunity to recognize and see how, what they're, focusing on outcome is important. Focusing on affordability is super important. And so once we're able to kind of do that, for a lot of other students, and get more exposure, I think it will change people's behavior, and we will be able to solve the big problem that we face today. So that's one part of the goal of this ranking. The second is to bring, like you said, bring exposure, light, and visibility to institutions like like the Utah Valley University, and be able to recognize them as really solid, viable, great options for people to take the next step in their journey, get educated, prepare for the world, and find ways to make a great living, and as well as adding value and doing whatever the things that they feel passionate about doing, without necessarily being being overloaded with student loan debt, and having that cause a massive stress in their lives. So those are kind of the two goals that we wanted to accomplish with optimal choice rankings.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think it's just such an important work. Now let's talk a little bit about the challenges of doing the rankings, and to the extent you're willing and able, about how you go about doing them. Can you describe a little bit about the methodology, and then we can get into the challenges?
Yeah, no, I'll, obviously, a lot of this is definitely proprietary, but what we have done is we have used the data that is out there for that's publicly available, actually, that the Department of Education provides, in terms of how much what the student salaries are year after they graduate. And it really kind of reflects the immediate return on the investment of their college choice, and what it can do for them. And we are able to break it down on a program by program basis. And so, obviously, if you are majoring in computer science, you're going to have a lot higher salary than if you are majoring in art history, right? And so, but the thing is not, so the main challenge then is to, how do we compare schools where more people are graduating in one major than the other, and make sure that it's not skewing the outcome, and confusing the issue. And so the way that we do that is by basically having separate measures based on each major, and just and measure compare each school on a major by major basis so that they are, we're comparing apples to apples across the universities. And then what we do is for each university, we aggregate the score that from each of those measurements to come up with a combined measure that we call salary score. And it roughly approximates to an average percentile of salary that you would, a typical student graduating in that, from that college should expect for a typical major. And so it really does allow us to compare apples to apples. And it does highlight a lot of the, schools that may not be just all focused on STEM, but still provide really great outcome for students majoring in, liberal arts education.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so I need to go check out the specific rankings for my program to see where we stack up to, because I'd only seen it at the university level. So I'm going to go check that out when we're done talking. That'll be fun. I suspect we'll stack up pretty well, and excited to see that. And of course, anytime you're dealing with these types of rankings and the methodologies, there's always some challenges. You've already addressed what some of those are. Ultimately, though, it's very worthwhile, even when we acknowledge that not everything's perfect in terms of the data that's available, right? In trying to make sense of everything, but it still has a lot of value. So that's tremendous. Now, so I'm thinking in our remaining time, maybe we could talk about some of those, some of the disciplines that you see as really perhaps rising stars. You already mentioned STEM fields; those tend to do well in terms of providing a lot of opportunity for good careers and income. Were there any surprises, though, in terms of some of the disciplines that perform quite well in terms of the salary score that maybe you didn't expect?
That's a really good question. I would say most of the outcome, most of the what we found were very I don't want to say predictable, but it made sense. There weren't any major surprises. I would from the profession level. I would say, like, along with STEM, like healthcare, especially nursing, is a very, very strong field, and so that's in terms of earnings and earning power over time, like it ranks really well and really strongly, and is highly comparable to engineering. And so in terms of the strength of the earning potential of some of the healthcare fields, I would say that may be surprising. Not that it's surprising that it ranked high, but it was very, very strong relative to some things like computer science and some of the STEM fields that you always kind of hear about. So I'd say that's probably like a surprise. But another surprise I would say is, what are the schools that are doing super well in providing education for those healthcare and nursing fields? And there are a lot of for-profit institutions that do a great job, and where people with good salaries, people who graduate from those programs, who do an excellent job in terms of their salary outcome post graduation. And so schools like Capella University and University of Phoenix, it's we've all kind of heard a lot about them, and they've gone through in the last decade or so a lot of they've been definitely had a lot of negative press for some of their more aggressive marketing tactics in the past. But the outcome does show that they are very strong in terms of the ability to produce high-earning nursing grads for their program. And there are some other programs like that they do a good job. And so it is what is, it does allow us to see that like some of the myth that we have about these, and preconceived notions about the strengths of some of these schools and what we think is true in the past may not necessarily be so. And the data is pretty clear on that. And so I think that was kind of the interesting and new insight.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I guess as we wrap up, I just want to note that this is important for employers because we're in the midst of this great resignation. The labor market's super tight. It's hard to find good qualified talent and attract and retain them, particularly in the STEM fields, the healthcare fields. That's been a challenge previously already, but now it's just a hyper intensive competitive kind of a labor market. And so we need to be thinking about how to reskill and upskill our workforce. We don't have, the luxury of just like laying people off or getting rid of people who we don't feel have the skills just to go out and hire new people. Those people may not be there for a variety of reasons. And so we also need to be thinking about reskilling and upskilling. And a lot of these universities can be one good option for that. Because if I'm looking at it like a tuition benefit for my employees, I can look at affordable institutions that are going to provide, career ready skills for my people, and they can be part of that upskilling.
Absolutely. That's totally true.
Wonderful. Well, Sung, it has just been a pleasure talking with you today. I really appreciate all the insights you've shared. Before we wrap up, I just wanted to give you a chance to share with listeners how they can get connected with you, and then give us a final word on the topic for today.
Yeah, no, sure. So our company's name is Optimal. The website that we publish these rankings and this list is called Grad Reports, gradreports.com, and you can find plenty of information. There's just treasure trove of insights and information about colleges and what students earn if you major in a particular major within a particular college. And so we just have a lot of very extensive data and insights that really, when people come and visit the site, they always tell me, "Oh my God, if I seen this site, before I decided to go to college and chose my major, like I would have made a different choice." And so it's like I hear that every day from people visiting the website, and so it's been really gratifying to see that. So gradreports.com, definitely hit us up for that and see, and at least inform yourselves if you're thinking about making a college choice or helping somebody else, helping a loved one decide about a college or a major. Definitely, this is a website that everybody should look at. I do want to finish up with one other thought, which is this may be a topic for our next conversation, which is we are also the one of the largest review and ranking site for boot camps. Coding boot camps, and we recently came out with rankings for boot camps based on outcome as well. Students that graduate from boot camps that are employed in their field, and we're the first one of those. We're the first of its kind. And boot camps are very interesting. It also in that it's an alternative to colleges that solve the same problem, which is an affordable upskilling vehicle for people that are looking to inject themselves into today's tech economy. So very interesting topic, very different dynamics. I'm sure there's plenty that we can talk about there as well. But
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. It has been a pleasure. I appreciate your insights. I appreciate your time. I encourage listeners to reach out and get connected, find out more about what Sung can do for you. And as always, I hope everyone can stay healthy and safe, that you can find meaning and purpose at work each and every day. And I hope you all have a great week.